Hello, everyone. Shane Jenkins with another episode of Liberty's Cage. It's been a little bit. Sorry about the reruns that they've been airing. I'm sure if you guys have to see me and Robert Morse one more time, you may commit some self-harm. So we'll try to get. I'm trying to get some in the shoot this week in case we miss a week. We'll have something for you guys. Thank you guys at the America First Warehouse, Joe and everybody, for your patience. I have been building this studio right here. I don't want to hit the walls too hard because they might fall down, but I had to build the studio, set up all the equipment and the cameras, and we got some different camera angles and stuff like that. So we're going to be getting better at this. But once again, thank you for tuning in to Liberty's Cage. I've got a very special guest today. His name is Ryan Wilson, and he's going to share his January 6th stories and tell us about his life prior to that and maybe some things going forward. But I wanted to talk about something that's kind of been in the news. It's talking about this judge apologized to the alleged would-be Trump assassin, and then they dragged the Jan 6 suspects into a rant over jail complaints. Basically, this judge talked about how nobody from January 6 had been treated like this guy's been treated, put in 5-point restraints and all this stuff, which is an absolute lie, because I watched people get beat, pepper sprayed, and all kinds of stuff. Maybe I can quote it. Says, Magistrate Judge Zia Faruqi, that sounds like a foreigner, said that he was fascinated and disturbed by Allen's, this is Cole Allen, the White House Correspondents' Dinner attempted assassin. He was disturbed and fascinated by Allen's treatment in jail. Allen was placed on suicide watch when he was first imprisoned. Prosecutors argued that since Allen told investigators he did not expect to survive the alleged attack, he could be a danger to himself. But an incredulous Faruqi wasn't convinced by that argument, drawing comparisons between Allen and defendants arrested for rioting at the Capitol on Jan 6, 2021. To me, this quote, "To me, it's extremely disturbing that he was put in 5-point restraints, a person with no criminal history. It's troubling. I've never heard of one Jan 6 defendant who was put in 5-point restraints or in a safe cell. If the only way to keep him safe is the most punitive thing, that's a problem. At a minimum, I should be apologizing to him. We are obligated to make sure he's taken care of, Mr. Allen. I'm sorry that things have not been the way they are supposed to." End quote. So, open rant from Shane Jenkins. I cannot believe this judge is, this guy went on a suicide mission knowing he could likely die. The jail says, hey, this guy might be a risk to himself, so they put him in restraints. They put him in a padded cell. They probably put him in the turtle suit, which is like a green. It's like a very big, looks like a bulletproof vest, but it's to prevent self-harm. You won't have any clothes. You will just have this large padded bulletproof vest. So, meanwhile, J6ers were put in, and also let me. So they mentioned that this guy doesn't have a criminal record. About 95% of the J6ers that they put in the jail have had no criminal record. And we were sprayed. People were beaten. People, Ryan Samsel had his eyeball knocked out of his socket. And Colton McAfee was pepper sprayed for refusing to wear a mask when he was trying to take his medication. And you can't really take your medication with a mask on. So, Dan Caldwell, very funny story. Not so funny. Thought he was going to die from pepper spray inhalation. And there was just a lot of, Brian Mock was sprayed. There was a lot of loss. Not to mention, on top of that, 2 years no visits, 2 years no religious services, 2 years solitary confinement, 1 year no haircut, 1 year no fingernail clipper. So they neglected us over the top. And this simp, leftist, Marxist, communist judge wants to say, well, we're sorry, Mr. Allen, or whatever his name is, that, you tried to kill the president of the United States and that you're not being treated well. Hopefully you don't have to eat bologna sandwiches, but you will be in the D.C. jail. So I could go on a rant all day about this. I just don't. I think it's ridiculous that we still have a two-tiered system of justice, and that the D.C. swamp is just going to be the swamp. And I want everybody to know, I don't think I'm really cool with these sunglasses. I have a bit of a situation right here. I didn't want you guys to think that I was picking sides in the Indian and Pakistani war with my red dot, Indian dot. So I have, this is for cosmetic reasons only, although I do like the sunglasses. I hope y'all are doing well. We're going to bring in Ryan Wilson, and he has a story to tell, so we are going to bring him in. Hey Ryan,
Hey
happy to
Shane.
have you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you giving the opportunity to give the story because I don't want people forgetting what happened to us.
That's right. You're kind of choppy on my end. I don't know if hopefully that comes out in the editing process. But so tell if you can. I agree with you completely. I want this to be kind of an archive of people's stories, and I want this to be permanently on the record. At least you're able to tell your version of what happened to you and your family and all that. Because it wasn't just us that went through it. It was also our families and our loved one, and with you in particular, your father went through hell as well. So, can you tell us, who Ryan Wilson was prior to January 6th and maybe how you got involved in politics and all that?
Yeah, I grew up on the Oregon coast in a small logging community, and my dad, well, I would be the fourth generation logger. My dad owned a logging business for 40 years, and then the last 10 years he went into pipelining, but we'd moved to Idaho after my dad and my uncle split up the logging business, and grew up hunting. Got an older brother that's love him to death, but he's more the one that always seemed to get in trouble. But I guess I learned from him, and I avoided it from seeing what he went through, or I guess I was just a little sneakier. And but yeah, moved to Idaho, and of course it's you know that's very conservative, and it kind of matched where I came from. But yeah, grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh, riding up in the pickup on into the Waihe Mountains to go logging, and when I was a young kid and in high school, and so that was just like what I was brought up on, and my dad was one of the people that informed me and other family members, like when Obama was running for president. He's like, he can't promise all that. Like it's a Trojan horse what you guys are voting for, because we had family on the other side that are all Democrats that were feeding into it. And I've kind of always been very aligned with my dad, but I've always been a very free thinker. I'd push back on that stuff, and he was always open to it. And when about 10 years ago, I was in a car accident, and by then I've got a wife and a young child, and I was in a car accident and left me paralyzed from the neck down. And by the grace of God, I was able to slowly start making recovery, because I wasn't a complete spinal cord injury. I was able to recover, and over the last 9 years, I was able to make quite a recovery. But Dad was talking about when January 6th was going on, or before January 6th, the whole Supreme Court decision was coming up there in, was it December like 12th or 14th? I can't remember now. And we ended up flying out to DC for that. I was like, well, who knows if we'll ever get a chance to contest what's going on, because we knew it was a bunch of baloney. And of course, they had already made the decision before we could really even get our voices out there. And so we were sitting back home. It's like a week later, and Dad's like, "Hey, I just heard Trump announce he wants people to come for January 6th, to contest, the electors." And I was like, I really don't want to fly back over there again. I was like, it's a long ways from Oregon. I don't want to pay for those flights again. And I'm off in the wintertime doing farming over here. And he finally convinced me. Like, it was about 4 days before that. Maybe it was like a week. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So the only flights we could get going in there was to Philadelphia, and it was a red eye. And so we got in there late at night. Well, not too late, but it was after dark by the time we got in there, and we had to get an Uber ride all the way to. I mean, we were outside of the city at a hotel, thankfully, but it was like a 2 hour and a half Uber drive from Philadelphia, which isn't that expensive really. And
God.
it was surprising. And so yeah, I mean, we went and saw. Oh yeah, so I guess it wasn't quite a red eye, because the Liberty Bell, like, get to go in and see it before it closed. We did go in and get to see that. Got a Philly
Okay.
cheesesteak. You know, that was the first time Dad and I had ever been to Philly. So like, yeah, we were doing some sightseeing while over there because that was the
Okay.
day before. So yeah, that was the day before. That was on January 5th. And then we roll into our hotel that was outside of city limits. And then, yeah, we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning or something to get over there. We want to make sure we got into the ellipse and all that. So we got an Uber ride in town and dropped us off as close as possible. And wanted to get in there and get as close as we could. And one of the strangest things is when we were standing outside in line waiting to get in, and maybe I'm not remembering this right, but I remember standing there and you look out and there was a black SUV that pulled up, and then there was like these three short like buses, that white buses that pulled up, black windows, and then a black SUV following it. And you just see all these people unload. I'm like, oh boy, they're even like bussing people in right here. I was like, that's interesting. And you see people get off, and I just never thought anything of it. And then we're waiting in line, and you see these younger kids, purple hair, tattoos, weird piercings, but they were wearing like Trump beanies and stuff. And I was like, well, those don't really fit the criteria of
Hmm.
what I'm used to as a Trump supporter. But I was like, well, we are on the east side of the country, so who knows what's going on over here. So I just never thought anything of it. You know, I'm just,
Well, hang
but I
on really
was,
quick. Hang on real quick,
yeah.
Ryan. We're
Okay,
gonna have
go
to go
ahead.
to a commercial break, but I'm excited. I didn't know you saw this, so I'm excited to talk about this. We will be back with more Liberty's Cage after this break with more Ryan Wilson and me, Shane Jenkins.
I wasn't watching the clock there. You still hear me okay?
Most people think they have options when searching for the best deals when they travel. But here's the shocking truth. 100% of the major travel agencies are owned by just two entities, Expedia and Booking Holdings. They claim to offer the lowest rates, but due to the hotel rate parity agreement, they all have the same pricing, limiting genuine competition. When you book through these sites, you act as your own travel agent, but the profits are going to organizations that don't support our patriot values. We cannot allow that to continue. So, we decided to make travel great again by starting a US-based travel membership platform, mypatriottravel.com. We are patriots helping patriots. Together, we can disrupt the travel industry by not spending our hard-earned dollars supporting the radical left. For just $29.99 per month, you gain access to true wholesale rates on travel, saving you on average 35% and up to 65%. Book as often as you like, with no limits. Keep your hard-earned dollars in your pocket and spend them on things you need and want to support. Go to mypatriottravel.com/TAFW and grab your membership today. mypatriottravel.com/TAFW. Making travel great again.
Are you a true American? Then it's time to get connected. Download the America First Media and Television app and stay up to date with real news, bold voices, and live events from the America First Warehouse. From national broadcasts and exclusive shows to comedy nights, concerts, and special events. It's all right at your fingertips. No filters, no spin, just America First. Download the America First Media and Television app today and be part of the movement.
I'm sure you guys remember the platinum single Justice for All with Donald Trump and the J6 Prison Choir. We'll get ready for round two. We're coming out with Anthem of the Free with High Res and the J6 Prison Choir. It's coming out now. It's pre-sale until December 19th when it drops. Get yours on all platforms, Google Play, Apple iTunes. Get it. It's going to be hot.
Justice for all, our voices ring. The anthem of the free.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see. A symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
Liberty's Cage. We are back. Thanks again to Joe the Box and the America First Warehouse for having us. Everybody go to sugarcreekgoods.com, promo code Liberty for your soap and body butters and your insect repellent. Excellent family here in Indiana. Actually, where I'm at, I need to go check out their factory and see how they're making that stuff. But go to sugarcreekgoods.com for your soap, body butters, lotion products, and insect repellent. Excellent products. Sugar Creek Goods, promo code Liberty. And so Ryan was telling us he was watching these bus pulls up. It sounds kind of fetish with the two, SUVs in front and behind, and then the purple hair. I kind of know where this is going, but some people may not have heard this story. I don't think I've had a guest on talk about this. So go ahead and pick up where you left off. You were kind of looking at the purple head weirdos, and then they were kind of throwing you off a little bit.
Yeah, they'd started like cutting in line, and I was like, all right, well, they want to get in there like the rest of us. I guess they're just a little more excited about it, and they, of course, everyone's polite, so they're just like letting them kind of do whatever, and nobody's wanting to cause a stink about it. So yeah, they probably were in there, any from late teens to early mid 20s, and yeah, they were just wearing Trump hats, like the most basic memorabilia. And so we finally got in the ellipse. Dad's not paying attention. He's got his Apple tablet, and he's got his wallet he's carrying with him. He carries like a big wallet, kind of like a little sack man purse type thing. And so he's totally doing the tourist thing, not even paying attention. He's just soaking it all in, being in DC and enjoying the sights and stuff. And so finally get in there, and of course we're just kind of standing behind all the chairs that are in there, and there's it wasn't full because it was so slow getting in security, and kind of listened to everybody go through their thing. Trump was late, so it was just neat for the first time to actually see the president. Dad had seen him years earlier at a show in Oklahoma when he was on the pipeline, but outside of that, yeah. And then after the ellipse was over, all the speeches were done. And it was kind of a bummer. Everyone was kind of down because he had said that Pence, was not on board with what he was wanting. So it's kind of like, well, I guess we're gonna head up to the Capitol and just go up and see what's going on there. So we moseyed on over there, and I'm still recovering from a lot of my neurological issues, so I'm not the fastest walker, and just kind of making our way up there with everybody else. And we're getting to the base of the Capitol where some of the steps were, and it's getting really packed in there. There was a lot of people before you start working your way up some of the outer steps way out where supposedly there was bike racks, to keep everybody out. And all of a sudden this giant American flag comes over, and Dad and I are like, well, let's help carry this. I'm like, all right. And everybody's got to hold this thing. So we're like, yeah, why not? Let's help carry this giant, like 30-foot by 40-foot American flag. So we just kind of grabbed a hold of it, and we're going along. And of course you're squeezing through all the people, and we kind of get to the base of the, where they have like the tarps and like some of the construction stuff, the scaffolding. And I was at work like, all right, well, we can't help these guys carry it from there. They kind of snaked it up there, and so we just worked our way up with everybody else to get up to the inauguration area. And we were looking around. I guess when you're looking out on the Washington Mall, we're on the far right side of like those grandstand seats area where you're overlooking the mall, and we're just like, wow, look at this view, how beautiful, and just a sea of people. And we were there for probably 10-15 minutes, and and to back up a little bit,
so just to be
on
clear,
our way,
man, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
So I didn't hear you guys say that like you guys were planning to overthrow the government, or you were carrying guns, or like all this stuff. It sounds like you guys went to protest around, like protest and encourage the Congress people and senators to, to object to what seemed like a certifying a fraudulent election. Right? Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, for growing up hunting and having an arsenal at home, something just skipped our mind on overthrowing the most powerful government in the world. We forgot those. But Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, I make a joke about people will say like, "Oh, you were a J6er." I'm like, "Yeah, us wheat farmers out here, we're a threat to this country, and they got to keep a close eye on us." But no, one thing I
No
forgot to
spoilers.
mention. Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention too was around the time actually before we even helped grab a hold of that flag was I was seeing flashbangs because we didn't get there till a little bit later because I'm slow walking and you're seeing flashbangs getting shot at the crowd and you're like, what the hell is going on up there? But then even once we got up in there, everybody was singing songs and USA, USA, and you know it was a beautiful moment. And then I remember looking down at the tunnel area, and Dad's like, "What the hell's going on over there?" And we look, and it was like starting to kind of get stirred up, and you see the cops pointing down and like shooting things at people, like rubber bullets and stuff. And I'm like, "What the heck is going on?" Because we walked into this whole thing being like pro police, and so it was like extremely confusing at that point. And, I was expecting to see Antifa, and still at this time, I didn't see any Antifa, which was really weird. And so Dad had said, "Hey, let's go down there and get closer and see what the hell's going on." But I'd actually wanted to get over closer because on the opposite side of where we were at, right up next to the tunnel, uh, when you're looking at the back of the Capitol, a little bit on the right side, and I seen guys in like black and just people smashing windows. And I was like, why in the hell are people smashing windows? So we work our way over there. And then pretty soon we get to that step area because it's really hard to get up where people sit because it's like, I don't know. I remember it being about 3 foot or something steps. If you're going to try to walk up that, maybe it was more. And so we get up there and you get in that line going up to those steps and you get to the top and it's all of a sudden just a rush and you get swept in there. And by the time you just get to the base of that tunnel, you're seeing people get beat by cops and the cops are beating on the top of people. And I don't know what it was, but at that moment, your whole mindset flips like, oh, they're attacking us. There was never a moment where I'm like, we need to beat them. It was like, oh, they're attacking us. We're unarmed out here. Why are they attacking us? And so then Dad ended up getting, and it happened fast. All of a sudden, he's in the very front of that tunnel, and there was a lady. I want to say her name was like Victoria White or something, and I might have the wrong name, but she was laying on the ground. And I remember specifically, Dad was trying to help her up and the cops were beating him over the top of the head and on the back. And at the same time, he's trying to hold on to his tablet and his wallet because he still had those in his hands. And so he tried pushing back on their shields because they're pushing on him and it's getting him mad. This is a 6'4", 240-pound logger, and he's getting mad because they're beating on him and he's trying to help this lady up and just chaos. So it's getting crazy in there. And when I see them beat him on the top of the head, I'm screaming for them to leave him alone, using every profanity I could think of at the time. And all of a sudden, there was a piece of PVC. And at the time, I didn't realize what it was. I'd already had like a bunch of pepper spray in my eyes, just like from it being sprayed in there. But I remember that object, and I just remember ramming it towards the guy that was beating my dad over the top of the head. And never did hit him, but I was trying to deter him from hitting my dad, and my dad's yelling for me to help. And at that moment, I get a jet stream of pepper spray right straight in the eyeballs, and my body locks up because of my neurological damage. I just lock up, and I'm on the ground, can't see, and they haul me out of there. And next thing I know, I'm at the bottom of the steps, and then the rest for the next half hour, I was trying to find my dad. And it took about 20 minutes to a half hour for me to finally locate him at the top of the steps, and finally got to him, and he was bleeding from the top of the head really bad. And yeah, from there, I finally found a medic. I was like, does anybody have any bandages or something to help him? And I found this black lady who was dressed in all black, or she had a rainbow mask on, black bandana, and she had a backpack. And they're like, oh, that's Antifa's medic. She could probably help you. And I'm like, so people know this? And so I went up to her. I'm like, could you please help my dad? He's bleeding from the top of his head. And she was happy to help. At that point, I was like, I don't care who helps me, just someone to help stop the bleeding. And he had about a 3-inch gash in the top of his head.
Damn. A lot of people don't know that your dad, and I just found this out. You reached out to me. You saw an interview with John Mellis and myself, and kind of reached out. I guess I don't even remember how you got a hold of me, but I do remember you telling me that, you know, I mentioned a guy who got hit over the top of the head. He looked like my grandpa, and he's really kind of one of the catalysts for me really getting kinetic with the whole situation. I was wondering what the hell this guy did to get the hell beat out of him, and from what I could tell, he didn't do anything, and that really upset me. And then not long after that, you know, we heard that Ashley Babbitt was shot inside, and then Roseanne Boland was on the ground unconscious. And I don't know if it's the particular woman that was being struck, but when I got struck from behind with the baton, it was the same officer, Commander Bagshaw, that was the one that struck Victoria White 30-plus times in the head and struck me from behind. But we will get into this further and then maybe get into what happened after January 6th with Ryan Wilson. I'm Shane Jenkins. This is Liberty's Cage.
Get ready to move and celebrate freedom like never before. The America First Warehouse proudly presents Freedom in Motion, America 250. Join Lisa for an electrifying dance fitness fundraiser designed to get your heart pumping and your spirit soaring. This dynamic 6-week session is perfect for all fitness levels, whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your routine. Feel the energy of an epic patriotic playlist. Boost your fitness, learn exciting new moves, and relieve stress while having an absolute blast. All for just $100 per person, and it all supports a great cause. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Come dance, get fit, and celebrate America 250 in motion.
Politics feeling broken? What if you could match with politicians the way you match on a dating app, but based on real values? Meet OpScore from GoUSA, the first ever values-based political matchmaker. Think Match.com for elections that aligns voters with politicians. We score politicians on a nonpartisan scale based on your priorities. Track your politician scores and take our OpScore Challenge survey to match with leaders who align with you at opscore.org. Stop voting blind. Start matching smart. Politicians work for you.
Are you a true American? Then it's time to get connected. Download the America First Media and Television app and stay up to date with real news, bold voices, and live events from the America First Warehouse. From national broadcasts and exclusive shows to comedy nights, concerts, and special events. It's all right at your fingertips. No filters, no spin, just America First. Download the America First Media and Television app today and be part of the movement.
If the vote count is accurate, then how come the number of voters is different? And if it's not accurate, then why was it certified? We are suing Letitia James and the New York State Board of Elections for a conspiracy against fundamental rights. This is not about who won. It's not about what party. It's about the fact that they don't care about your rights.
It's me, Joe the Box. And I'm John the Blanket with the America First Podcast.
That's what I'm talking about. The Fred Rubino Podcast coming to you from the America First Warehouse.
Welcome, everybody, to the James Justice Show, tearing these airwaves apart with all the craziness that goes on in the world.
Welcome to the Patriots Podcast. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the On the Right Side podcast here at the America First Warehouse in Long Island, New York.
Shane Jenkins here with another episode of Liberty's Cage.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Red, Right, and True.
We are streaming live on America First Media and Television app.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Downey Jr. podcast. Be free, stay free.
The America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
I'm Shane Jenkins, and this is Liberty's Cage. We are back with Ryan Wilson, my esteemed colleague, fellow J6er, brethren in Christ, and I'm not a fellow, I was going to say fellow logger, I'm not a logger, but he was telling us about the events of January 6th, so I'll just let you pick up, Ryan, where you're at, and then take off away with it.
Yeah, after we found I found the BLM medic that was there for Antifa, that's when I started really looking around outside, and I was like, oh, Antifa's in the crowd. And that's when it dawned on me, and I realized, oh, okay, yeah, that was when I was like, okay, this was a setup. Like, this was a complete setup. And then over the course of the next few weeks, it just started, the puzzle came together on, oh, the buses that came in, the kids trying to sneak into the ellipse, and then seeing people around in front of us that were like the most violent people against the cops were Antifa in the crowd. And I'd actually, in that area I had got up to next to the Capitol there, we finally made our way off to the side where I was wanting to go in the first place, and there were still people trying to break windows, and I ran a couple of them off. And Dad was just kind of hanging out there trying to get his bearings back. And but they were relentless. They just kept coming back trying to bust windows so people could funnel into the Capitol. And fast forward, we finally got out of there that night. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if I told you or not, but whenever I saw your dad getting struck in the head, and I was like looking at the police line, and I was like, man, I would rather these guys that are getting beat over the head, like, not try to go through the police line. I would just rather them go through the window. And I was like, are windows replaceable? These people's lives are not. So that's when I was like, I started tapping on the window to the left of the tunnel, and I was like, man. And I was like, we could just go through this window and get in the Capitol. And I was like, what are we going to do after that? Probably just go have a sit-in, like Code Pink or whatever. I don't know. I didn't know what the plan was. I was just like, I didn't want to see people. Windows are replaceable. Human beings are not. And so I was like, and that's when I pulled out my tomahawk. And, well, really, when I tapped on the window, there was a guy standing there on that ledge, and he was like, oh, you can't break that window. It's bulletproof. And I was like, why did you have to say that to me? Like, don't ever tell me I can't do something, because I will prove you wrong. and so I pulled out, I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to have to show you that I can. And so I pulled out my tomahawk. I struck the window about 7 times, all on video. And, the crowd started going, like, the crowd was like, half the crowd was like, yeah, that was probably like Antifa and a lot of other people. And then the other part of the crowd was like, no, like, no, we don't do that. We're not Antifa. We don't just, and I was like, I'm thinking, look, you're stealing an election. You're beating the hell out of people. This could be avoiding getting beat. Like, I just felt like, man, you know what? It's a damn window. I paid for this window with my tax money. Screw it. But when the crowd was just, I was just like, okay, I'll stop. So, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to interject.
No,
it's all kind of ties together. But
no, I don't blame people for doing it either, because when you see the cops beating on people, I was enraged. I mean, I hadn't been mad like that. The only person that's ever got me that mad was my older brother, and I was just so it was like a betrayal that day. Like, we're the ones supporting you guys, and now you're like, it was literally their core supporters were in that crowd, and they were shooting at us. So it was the guys that I seen that looked like Antifa. Like, these guys were dressed all in black with black, like, paintball masks. But outside of that, like, I wasn't really worried about it. It was just when I started looking around, I seen the Antifa that was like crawling over people. But no, that never bothered me. Is the cops that were shooting down at us. It's like, yeah, I remember looking inside the window. I'm like, man, it's really nice and warm in there. You can feel the heat coming out. It's like, I almost want to go in there just because it's warm. But I was close, but I never did. But yeah, and then
the thing too is the thing that people don't understand too is that, like, that voting block, the DC, I guess it's 10 miles by 10 miles, is 97% Biden voting district. So if you say that, I'm sure cops live outside of that district that work in DC, but I would guess that probably 97% of the police force were Biden voters, and so they saw an opportunity. And I also don't think that it was even that innocent. I think it was intentional because the Capitol Police didn't really respond as much as the D.C. police did. I think it was a very intentional. Muriel Bowser probably colluded with Nancy Pelosi, and there were some, they didn't, the delay of the National Guard. There were some very intentional things, the removing of the bike racks and the ski fencing, and then firing into the crowd that wasn't doing anything. Then the police attacking women and elderly men, I think intentionally to stoke the anger in the younger men. Not to mention the provocateurs with the Antifa and the federal agents and that in the crowd. So it was a very layered.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. There was provocateurs. There was a lady she was telling Dad and I we're cowards and we need to go inside, crawl in one of the windows. And I 1,000% agree. It was a setup from top to bottom like they would do in a color revolution. There's people coordinating with the FBI and police to do all that. I mean, we've seen some of the video inside the Capitol. There was undercover police officers in the crowd that were flashing their badges, say, "Oh, I'm a cop, I'm right here." And I think even once they'd arrested one of the cops and then they'd let him out of his handcuffs once he convinced them that was inside. But yeah, it was 100%. And I don't know. I've noticed that Trump kind of has Muriel Bowser in his back pocket. So I think he's she knows she's in deep water if she doesn't play along with him. And so, but yeah, we ended up going back to our motel room or hotel room, and I was just like, "Dad, this is not good." And he didn't realize what was going on still. And I was like, "This isn't good. Like, this is really not good." And I had no idea they were going to do a manhunt on us, but I was still like, "Man, this isn't good." And the next morning, I'd gotten an alert on my phone because I was trying to get an Uber, and they'd locked down the whole city. You couldn't get an Uber. And thankfully, I had cash with me, and so I just called a taxi, and we got a taxi to the airport. And that was one time I wore my mask the whole time I was there, was going through the airport, because we didn't want people seeing our faces, and it was kind of spooky. And we had to fly to L.A. and then for a connecting flight back to Boise. We flew into Boise, and I remember the whole time we were just like, holy crap. And it was interesting. The flight back, they all of a sudden, all the COVID restrictions were over. On our flight back, we got on the plane. They're like, "Yep, you guys don't have to wear masks anymore. COVID restrictions are over." I'm like, well, look at the timing of that. That's interesting. And 3 weeks later, Dad got an email from a friend with a picture of him on FBI's Most Wanted. That was the night before my son's, I can't remember what birthday it was, 7th or 8th birthday. And Dad gets a notification from a friend through email saying, "You're on FBI's Most Wanted." And Dad's like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "I don't know. I guess just call an attorney and see what the attorney recommends doing. But I'd get an attorney. Your face is on FBI's Most Wanted." And they're putting this everywhere. And I mean, this was a friend from Texas that notified a friend of my dad that said, "You're on FBI's Most Wanted." I was like, if it's out that much, then they're going to find you soon. So it's better to just say, "Hey, I cooperated and I turned myself in." So he did. And they just said, the FBI just said, "Oh, we'll get to you. We'll come and talk to you, here soon. Just, don't worry about it." And then it was like 3 or 4 months later, they came and kicked his door down and all this stuff. And there was no playing nice. He wasn't home when they did it. He was at a friend's house, but they showed up at like 6 a.m., kicked the door down, busted his trailer door in, and he had a camp trailer. And of course, they went in and took anything that they saw as, evidence. He had the CNN fake news hats that he had made, and so I had a friend call me that said, "Hey, the FBI came and got your dad." And I was like, "Oh, crap." And so I was out in a tractor at the time. And he finally got out, and he's like, well, how did you hear about it? And I'm like, well, Karen called me, my dad's friend, and girlfriend at the time, and I was like, it's all over the news in Boise, because he's living in Nampa at the time, had a house there, and he was all freaked out because it was all over the news. I'm like, Dad, this is much worse than what you think. I was like, it's all over the news, and not only was on the news, the news was trying to say that, oh, fugitive on the run, FBI finally catches their man. I'm like, he turned himself in. Like, I wanted to sue the news for the defamation and like garbage they were putting out, and that's even in Boise, Idaho. And then so at that point, I was like, oh, well, it's just a matter of time before they find me. And Dad's telling me, oh, don't lock your door. They're going to come kick your door in any day. And I got, a young kid at home, and Grant was only 7 at the time, 7 or 8. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. And so I called a guy and got an attorney, and sure enough, the FBI was already watching me. But yeah, so fast forward, Dad gets to be on like, pre-trial release, but they had 11 counts against him. They're saying he's going to serve 100-something years. And, and so his attorney ended up being the same guy that represented Randy Weaver of Ruby Ridge, Chuck Peterson. Total Democrat shill. That guy scolded my dad for going to January 6th. He tried pressuring him into getting the COVID vaccine.
Hey, excuse me, Ryan. We gotta go to commercial break. So we'll be right back with more Ryan Wilson and Shane Jenkinson's Liberty's Cage right after this.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Get ready to move and celebrate freedom like never before. The America First Warehouse proudly presents Freedom in Motion, America 250. Join Lisa for an electrifying dance fitness fundraiser designed to get your heart pumping and your spirit soaring. This dynamic 6-week session is perfect for all fitness levels, whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your routine. Feel the energy of an epic patriotic playlist. Boost your fitness, learn exciting new moves, and relieve stress while having an absolute blast. All for just $100 per person, and it all supports a great cause. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Come dance, get fit, and celebrate America 250 in motion.
Corporate transfer. Fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
The America First Warehouse, where our hearts
Shane Jenkins back with Liberty's Cage with fellow J6er Ryan Wilson. And Ryan was talking about how, the feds ran down on his dad, kicked his door in. And I just sitting here thinking about, I remember in D.C., I actually stayed an extra day. I stayed January 7th and then went home January 8th. And I'll never forget, turning on the news and thinking, it was a little, things got a little out of control, but come on, it's like a Friday night at the local bar or whatever, a few things got broken, some people got punched in the face, everybody's alive, it's fine, whatever. Well, not in January 6th, 4 people died, but I was changing the news every channel, insurrection, domestic terror. I was like, oh my God, this is bad. This is really, really bad. People are calling me, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm okay. Well, you're doing, no, I wasn't down there. I don't know what you're talking about. Leave me alone. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Ryan, and let you finish up your story. But man, thanks for coming on. And
go
ahead and tell us what happened after that.
Yeah, it did. It got kind of wild when we got home, but yeah, he ended up ultimately he had to serve 30 months in Yazoo, Mississippi. He was sentenced to 51 months because he took a plea, because they were basically saying, if you don't take a plea, you're going to be in there for 10 plus years or whatever. And he's a 70-year-old guy. And so he took a plea. I don't blame anybody for taking a plea, for what the pressure they put on us. And I know some people judge others for doing it, but it's he wasn't one of, he wasn't ever going to sign any document saying, Trump made us do it. I know they were putting pressure on people for that. They tried getting me to do it. They were trying to, give me ideas well, did Trump put you up to it, or what did he say? And I was like, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention at the rally, so I don't know what he said. And, but yeah, ultimately they ended up coming after me. I ended up fighting it, going to court, October 7th of 24. They had a hard time finding information on me because I wiped my Facebook and everything. I cleared my iCloud. I saved a couple, one video and a couple pictures I sent to a friend. Everything else I wiped because I started reading about how they were using that to find other people, and anything they saw on my social media, they were going to use against me. So I'm like, well, as much as I wanted to keep a lot of those, I wiped it all clean. And Dad didn't have well, he kind of did have the opportunity, but he didn't do it, and they had probably just used that against him too. But yeah, I ended up going to the D.C. jail, convicted on all charges. They ended up increasing 3 of my misdemeanors. I had 8 charges, 3 of them felonies, but they increased 3 of them to felonies after I refused the second plea deal. And so I was convicted of 6 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. And so, yeah, they put me in the D.C. jail. Of course, you get shackled and walked in there, and the place stinks awful, cockroaches, and you're not used to that stuff. It's a little bit of a shell shock. And ended up running into 2 other J6ers. Well, 3 actually. The one guy that was in there the first night, his name was Alan Jennings, and he was actually a former prison guard in California, and he was one of the first guys to actually break the window on the doors in the tunnel. And he's probably a late 60s guy. And remember going and sitting down inside the DC unit, Southeast 3, and sitting at a table, and I look over and here's this guy, white guy in glasses, and I'm like, hey, is there any other J6ers in here? And he looks around, he's like, well, yeah, me. And I'm like, you are? He's like, yeah. He's like, are you? I'm like, yeah. So it was you're kind of relieved. You're it's 99% black guys in there. And I didn't grow up around black guys, so I was just like, this is a little weird. And so finally, he's like, oh yeah, we got this other guy over here. His name's Rockney. So he came over and sat and talked to me. And then Mike Bradley, he was in his cell at the time. He was reading a book or something. And so I didn't see him till the next morning, but I was in solitary confinement for a week. So with Edward Kelly. And so I hadn't talked to my wife in that whole week. She didn't know what was going on. And so finally called her. But yeah, I was fortunate when you look at the full view of things. My dad served 30 plus months in Yazoo, Mississippi. He was relentlessly harassed by guards, black guys, everybody, people trying to scam him. I mean, he had a lot of stress on him, and where he was at, they purposely kept him from any other J6ers. And so he didn't have any contact with any other J6ers while he's in there. And then they purposely put him in a cell with a pedophile. And those were, found out through a FOIA request, those were orders from Merrick Garland to do that to not just him, but a lot of J6ers throughout the country in the BOP. And so, yeah, so I remember being in the DC jail with Mike and Rocky, and, we're just like, counting down the days. And, my birthday ended up being election day. So I was thinking, just the one thing I want for my birthday, please let Donald Trump win, please. And he did. And boy, that was a celebration that night. And of course you can hear it on the TV. The black guys keep the TV up at max all night long. And so, yeah, I remember there were times in the DC jail. I mean, you probably know, just, you gotta try to make with what you have, in a sense, where I was a class clown growing up. So, the black guys are doing their, the Muslims are doing their call to prayer, and, or what is it? It's not, is that what it's called? The call to prayer? They're 5 times a day. They usually hit it about 5 or 6 in the morning. So my cellmate, I was fortunate. My cellmate, I was fortunate when I first got in there. He's a local guy from DC, probably 50s, former construction guy, owned a business, and very clean, liked to keep the cell clean, but had to kind of break up the, monotonous of it and have a little fun. And so when they did their call to prayer it's like 5 in the morning, I finally started getting tired of it, and I called out of the slot where they passed the food, and they started doing the Ricola call like you see in the commercials. Ricola, and just hear it echo across all the concrete and everything. And you want to talk about throwing a rock into a hornet's nest. I mean, thank God they never did pinpoint where it came from, but they were on a hunt there for about a half a day. And, but then, yeah, not long after that, I ended up falling out of my top bunk, because I was actually a bottom bunk profile, but I was always in a cell with an older guy that had back issues. So I ended up falling out of my top bunk, injuring my spine, getting put in the medical unit. And then I ended up staying there till the end of it. But, the stuff you see in the DC jail, I mean, it's stabbings, guys robbing other people's commissary. And then, but one of the guys that did help me when I hurt my back was a guy by the name of Dennis Postavoy. He's not a J6er, but he was hit with political persecution pretty bad. He's a Russian guy from Florida, actually a scientist about my age, still in good contact with him. But we did help get him out. He's back in Russia now, but he's trying to get back to his family in Florida. But, finally, January 20th came along, and Suzanne Monk contacted my wife, said, you better fly over here because he's getting out. And so my wife flew over there and stayed at Suzanne's house. And I didn't get out till the morning of January 22nd, and saw my wife, and the rest is history.
What was that like getting out? Like, after being through all that, like, how did that feel to you?
Oh, it was weird, and I wanted to see Mike and Rockney. And so, yeah, Rockney got out about a half hour after me. And then Mike was already in Philadelphia in the prison up there. So his wife had picked him up because they got out the night after the signing. And so she drove him back. He wanted to see us. So she drove him back down to DC, and we all got to see each other again. And that was last. I want to see him again soon, but we at least got to see each other. But yeah, I broke down in tears when we went to a pizza place just down the road, and I broke down in tears because it was just hard to understand that all happened. And I mean, I wasn't in there for what you guys went through, but it was just like, did this really happen? Were we really free? It was so strange.
It's hard to wrap your mind around it from being in, whether it's solitary confinement or in a jail cell or whatever it is. Then just they open those gates or those doors, and it's just like a whole. It's really like like your subconscious and your psyche can't really just. It's very hard to adapt, and it causes a lot of people to. I don't remember if you saw Shawshank Redemption. The old guy gets out of prison.
Oh yeah,
can't cope, and I think he ends up killing himself or something. But
yeah, Brooks,
sad. And it is very real. It is very 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 real deal. What do you? We got about a minute, but what do you hope to see happen for J6ers and moving forward?
Well, of course, I want all these people that did this to us to serve true justice, whether it happens in this life or, when they burn in hell, I don't know. But it would be nice for many to get some sort of restitution because, I spent a lot of money on attorneys. It made me go through a whole litany of health issues after getting injured in jail. They ignored all my medical stuff while I was in there. And I'm not nearly as bad off as some of these guys. I mean, my dad had to sell his house and everything. It's completely ruined my dad's life, and he'll never be the same. So justice for the people that did this to us, and hopefully give some relief to the people that are out now.
Well, Ryan, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for coming on Liberty's Cage. Again, thank you, Joe the Box, and everybody at the America First Warehouse. If you're watching this and you don't have the America First Media and Television app, download it. It's the easiest way to watch it. Thank you for tuning in to Liberty's Cage, and we'll see you next time.
For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. And the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be. America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see. A symbol of hope, a symbol of unity.